Ever notice how every truly captivating mastermind in pop culture, from the insidious Emperor Palpatine pulling strings across galaxies to the chillingly composed Hannibal Lecter dissecting human nature, and sometimes humans themselves, or even the cunning Scar orchestrating a kingdom's downfall, feels like they're cut from the same darkly elegant cloth? They're quiet, aren't they? Always calculating, always 3, sometimes 10, moves ahead. Emotionally unplugged, or so it seems. It's like Hollywood didn't just invent that archetype. They copied it, almost verbatim, from a specific section of the MBTI personality framework. You guessed it, the INTJ. Today, we're diving deep into the 5 villain tropes that seem to get stapled onto INTJ the second they walk into a room, or even just exist in the periphery. And here's the kicker. We'll explore why, underneath the eye rolls and the occasional sigh of exasperation, they don't just tolerate this branding. They kind of secretly, absolutely love it. It's more than just a label. It's a badge of honor, a secret handshake, and maybe even a strategic advantage. Quick stat to kick things off. In a recent 2023 survey of over 16,000 self-typed MBTI enthusiasts, INTJ were voted most likely to secretly root for the bad guy by a staggering 40-point margin. Let that sink in. If you just felt a tiny, almost imperceptible flare of pride in your chest, a little smirk playing on your lips, then congratulations. You might just be one of us. Or at least, you're starting to get us. Trope 1, the master planner. This trope practically writes itself, doesn't it? The image is crystal clear. INTJ sitting in the shadows, perhaps stroking a metaphorical cat, meticulously spinning 10-year roadmaps for global domination, or at the very least, a hostile takeover of the office coffee machine, while everyone else is still picking a filter for their next profile pic. It's all thanks to their dominant cognitive function, introverted intuition, NI, which quietly stitches invisible patterns together, allowing them to see potential futures and connections others miss entirely. This isn't just foresight, it's practically precognition. Then, their auxiliary extroverted thinking, TE, swoops in, slicing away inefficiency, organizing information, and acting decisively to bring those intricate visions to life. The R, Hesult, a reputation for what many perceive as diabolical foresight. They're not just planning, they're scheming. But let's reframe this, shall we? Real INTJ aren't plotting world domination, not usually anyway. What they are doing is building robust, elegant systems designed to survive the chaotic, often illogical whims of human nature. They anticipate problems before they even appear on the horizon, creating contingency plans for scenarios most people haven't even considered. The evil label? That's often just plain old jealousy wearing a dramatically swishy cape. It's the frustration of those who struggle to see beyond the immediate, projecting their own limitations onto someone who consistently thinks several steps ahead. And yes, watching co-workers scramble because they didn't bother to read page 14 of the brief, which clearly outlined the exact pitfall they just stumbled into. That, my friends, is secretly, profoundly satisfying. It's not malice, it's the quiet vindication of rigorous preparation. They excel at strategic thinking and visionary planning, making them natural architects of complex solutions, which can look a lot like manipulation to the uninitiated. Trope 2. The icebox heart. INTJ rarely emote on demand. It's not that they don't have feelings, they just process them the way a high-performance chess engine calculates lines, internally, silently, at lightning speed, often far removed from the immediate situation. You won't typically see an INTJ having a public meltdown or gushing effusively over a minor success. Outsiders, observing this blank, composed face, often rush to fill that perceived gap with their own assumptions, usually landing on robotic villain or emotionless automaton. This perception is heavily influenced by their prioritization of logic and efficiency over emotional displays. They don't disregard social niceties out of spite, but because they often see them as inefficient or disingenuous. But let's reframe this perspective. That reserve isn't a void, it's armor. It's a deliberate, often subconscious choice to maintain objectivity. This armor allows them to remain clear-headed and strategic when everyone else is panic-Googling solutions, caught in the emotional undertow of a crisis. INTJ absolutely know emotions are real, powerful, and deeply human. They just refuse to let temporary moods, fleeting anxieties, or social pressures hijack a solid plan or compromise a critical decision. Their deep-seated rationality means they value sound judgment above all else. The chill vibe they project isn't apathy. It's a commitment to keeping the plot, or, let's be real, the project, on track, regardless of external noise. If that makes them the story's unfeeling antagonist in the eyes of some, well, so be it. They'd rather be effective than popular. Their emotional depth is there. It's just often private, shared only with a select few, which further fuels the perception of detachment. Trope 3. The blunt executioner. Ever made the mistake of asking an INTJ if your brilliant new screenplay idea is any good? Don't expect fluffy encouragement. You're more likely to get a 2-sentence autopsy delivered with the precision of a surgeon. Act 2 drags. Fix the stakes or shelve it. No sugar, no sprinkles, no participation trophies for effort. Just the unvarnished, efficient truth. People, especially those accustomed to a gentler approach, often file that kind of honesty under cruel villain dialogue. It can sting, no doubt, and it's a key reason why they are often perceived as intimidating or even antagonistic. Their directness is a hallmark of their extroverted thinking, which seeks to organize and communicate information as clearly and efficiently as possible. Yet, let's reframe this. Sugarcoating, to an INTJ, wastes calories, time, and ultimately, opportunities for improvement. They treat truth like data packets, transmit clean, receive fast, and get to the point. The same directness that might sting feelings in the short term is also the very force that prevents million-dollar mistakes, averts catastrophic project failures, and cuts through bureaucratic nonsense. They aren't trying to be mean. They're trying to be right and effective. They believe in radical candor because it leads to better outcomes. And bonus? The quiet fear their bluntness generates often keeps time wasters, sycophants, and those prone to intellectual laziness far, far away. Productivity soars in their orbit, and the INTJ, observing the newly streamlined process, smiles internally. It's a win-win from their perspective. Trope 4. The loner rebel. INTJ question every rule, including gravity if it seems inefficient. Their fierce independence isn't just a preference, it's a core tenet of their being. They value autonomy above almost everything else and prefer to work independently, charting their own course. This feels noble and necessary to them, a pursuit of optimal solutions. But institutions, with their love for conformity and established hierarchies, often read this independent streak as potential threat. It's like every headquarters needs a rebel silhouette on the rooftop, challenging the status quo, and more often than not, it's an INTJ. Their nonconformity and resistance to tradition are often seen as defiance, which is a classic villainous trait in many narratives. They're not afraid to stand firm against popular opinion if they believe there's a better way. But here's the reframe. For an INTJ, systems should serve outcomes, not egos, and certainly not just because that's how we've always done it. When INTJ refuse to conform to what they perceive as dumb conventions or outdated protocols, they're not just being difficult. They're beta testing civilization's update patch. They're stress testing the existing framework to find its weaknesses, proposing innovative solutions that often seem radical at first. Society eventually, almost inevitably, adopts the patch, often forgets the initial rebellion, and then mints new rules, until the next INTJ comes along, spots the next inefficiency, and the cycle continues. The villain in this scenario simply enjoys front-row seats to progress, knowing they played a crucial, albeit often uncredited role in pushing humanity forward. Their independent spirit is a driving force for innovation, even if it ruffles feathers along the way. Trope 5. The arrogant genius. Combine quiet confidence with almost supernatural pattern recognition superpowers, and you've got a potent mix. This can easily slide into an "I already solved this, why are we still talking?" tone, or a dismissive glance when someone proposes an idea they've already mentally dissected and discarded. Outsiders, especially those unfamiliar with the INTJ's internal processing speed, often tag this as narcissism, pure and simple. Hollywood, of course, loves to tag it as genius antagonist hubris, the fatal flaw of many a brilliant villain. Their intellectual confidence, while genuine, can be misinterpreted as arrogance or a sense of superiority, particularly by those who feel less competent. However, let's reframe this crucial point. Competence, especially when it's genuinely high, can often feel like arrogance to insecure ears. It's a projection, not a reflection. INTJ, paradoxically, know the limits of their knowledge better than almost anyone. They're acutely aware of what they don't know, which drives their perpetual learning. They simply don't feel the need to fake humility to win popularity points or stroke fragile egos. They respect directness and intellectual honesty above performative modesty. The slight, almost imperceptible smirk that sometimes plays on their lips when people call them an evil genius. It's not necessarily ego. It's often a quiet recognition that the label itself, with its dramatic flair and cultural resonance, sells far more movie tickets than highly effective systems analyst or exceptionally insightful strategic planner. They understand the power of a narrative, even if it's a slightly misunderstood one. All right, quick break here. If you've been nodding like a conspirator this whole time, feeling seen and maybe a little bit dangerously understood, then it's time to make it official. Hit that subscribe button and, more importantly, drop the most villainous thing you've ever done in the name of efficiency in the comments below. No judgment. We're all about the data, remember? Why INTJ love the label. So, we've dissected the tropes. But why do INTJ, the supposed masterminds and villains of the MBTI world, not just tolerate this label, but actually, secretly, or not so secretly, love it? It's more than just a quirky personality trait. It's a strategic advantage, a comfort zone, and even a form of self-expression. It's a built-in filter. Think of it as an intellectual bouncer at the velvet ropes of their inner circle. Call yourself the villain, lean into the dark intellectual vibe, and watch the small talk crowd, the emotionally high-maintenance individuals, and anyone uncomfortable with directness exit stage left faster than you can say inefficient. This leaves only the truly interesting people, those who appreciate depth, intellectual sparring, and genuine connection. It's an effective, low-effort way to curate their social environment, ensuring that the relationships they do form are meaningful and stimulating, free from superficiality. It protects their energy and precious internal world. Low expectations, high impact. If the general bar for you is evil mastermind or cold calculator, then simply delivering flawlessly on a project, exceeding expectations, or even just showing a flicker of genuine human warmth feels like a redemption arc worthy of applause. It's a brilliant psychological hack. When people expect you to be difficult or detached, any display of competence or unexpected kindness is amplified, turning routine success into an heroic achievement. You get to surprise and impress without even trying harder, simply because the baseline expectation was so low. It's a quiet power, turning perceived negatives into unexpected positives. Narrative control. There's immense power in owning your stereotype. When you embrace the villain label, you rob others of the power to insult you with it. It's like taking a word intended to hurt you and wearing it as a crown. If someone tries to call an INTJ cold or calculating, the INTJ can simply nod, maybe even smirk, and internalize it as a compliment. Yes, I am. And that's why I get things done. This self-awareness and acceptance disarms potential critics, turning their judgment into confirmation of your unique identity. You control the narrative, rather than letting the narrative control you. It's a subtle but powerful act of defiance and self-affirmation, cultural cachet, and the best lines. Let's be honest. Who gets the best lines in movies? The heroes, with their earnest speeches about hope and justice, or the villains, with their chillingly insightful monologues, their witty one-liners, and their cutting observations about human folly? Villains get the coolest outfits, the most iconic lairs, and often the most memorable orchestral theme music. There's a certain undeniable allure to the antagonist, a magnetic pull that stems from their power, intelligence, and often their freedom from conventional morality. Why wouldn't someone lean into that? It's a recognition that the villain archetype, though often misunderstood, carries a certain undeniable mystique and intellectual appeal that resonates deeply with the INTJ's self-perception. It's not about being truly evil. It's about embodying a powerful, intelligent, and influential figure. So, the next time someone casts you as the emotionless puppet master, the ruthless strategist, or the blunt truth teller, remember this. Tropes are just bedtime stories for people who need simplicity, narratives to make sense of complexity. INTJ, however, aren't content with pre-written scripts. They write their own sequels, their own epics. The strategic mind that might intimidate or even scare the room is the very same mind that cures diseases, sends rockets past Mars, and keeps the lights on when panic knocks the grid offline. It's the mind that builds the future, often despite the resistance of the present. Wear the black hat if the costume fits, if it feels right, if it empowers you. Just know it's a choice, a powerful declaration of independence, not a life sentence. And if you secretly, deep down, enjoy the subtle shiver you cause when you enter a meeting, the way people pause, wondering what brilliant, unsettling thought is currently occupying your mind, well, that, my friend, is a beautiful, villainous secret between you and the epic soundtrack only you can hear.